say, Brett, isn't it spring? Aren't you in the South? Why, yes, I am. But it's a little bit chilly today. Probably not as chilly as I'm depicting with my attire, but, I'd rather be extra warm because I could always take layers off. Whereas, if I get out here and it's cold, next thing you know, I'm stuck in the cold. It's affecting my stream. I'm not happy. So I'm just getting TikTok ready here. If TikTok would catch up with our stream already, it's like, God, who forgot to go live? What are we going to call this, people? We're going to call it Homeschool Q&A. Q and A. All right, let's pop this on a live wire. Bom, 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 bom. I took her out. It was a Friday night. All right, here we go. And let's go live. 3, 2, 1. Hello, TikTok. You are here with YouTube. It is a beautiful day in the sunny South. Don't let my hat fool you, allegedly. You say, well, Brett, isn't it cold? Well, it can be 10 degrees colder. So it is a beautiful day in the sunny South, and our mindset has so much to do with how we perceive, how we experience the world around us. So make sure that your children always see you setting a positive example. The example we set for our children is so important. And people talk about homeschooling and they say, what curriculum should I use? Or what homeschool methodology should I implement? The most important part of homeschooling, the most important thing you can do if you want to be successful with homeschooling, is to implement a culture in your home that is conducive to learning, that encourages learning, and that makes your children feel comfortable pursuing their interest. And that starts with mindset. And that's actually a good segue. By the way, this is Homeschool Q&A today. So if anyone has questions related to homeschool, just fire them off. Just fire them off. But that takes me to a post I made yesterday on the @RealBrettPike channel, which I think is a really appropriate segue, in which I basically talked about mothers taking the time to take care of themselves. And that was really inspired by the members of my homeschool community and the homeschool mothers I deal with on a daily basis, in which so many homeschool mothers, and it's not just unique, it's fathers too, but I get it a lot from mothers, they have this guilt, right? They feel like they're not giving their child enough if they're not spending every waking moment with them. And what I said was, if you're on an airplane and the plane starts to go down, what do they tell you to do first? Do you put on the child's air mask or do you put on your own oxygen mask? Well, you put on your oxygen mask first, because if you try to do the child's first, right, you might pass out and then the child has no parent anymore, right? Because that child's probably not going to put the mask on your face. I mean, they might try depending on their age. But when you're on that plane, if the plane starts to go down or there's a lack of oxygen, they tell you, you have to put that oxygen mask on yourself first. Because then if the child passes out, it's okay. You'll get the oxygen mask on them. They'll breathe. They'll be okay, right? That's why they tell you that. Well, with homeschooling, it's very much similar. Hey, Melissa. It's very much similar in that homeschool mothers specifically, you need to take the time. Good morning, Foster Bear. You need to take the time to take care of you, and that's okay. If you need an hour a day where this is mom's hour and the children can go learn to play independently or whatever it might be, then take that hour. If you need to go get your nails done once a week or go get a massage once a week, whatever you do, I don't know. But go get your hair done. Like, take an hour, schedule it, and say, this is mom time, because if you get that oxygen mask on you first, then you could better take care of your children. Or if you feel 100%, it's much easier for you as the parent, specifically the mother, to give 100% to your child. A whole foster bear, a whole hour. You get 1 hour. All right, take 2 hours. But the point is, and that could be every day. So whatever you need. If you need 2 hours, yeah, foster bear gets 2 hours. But it really is important, all jokes aside, of taking the time to make sure you're 100%. But it does something else, because there is an aspect of homeschooling which is very advantageous over public schooling, over private schooling, other forms of education. And you could only achieve it if you set the tone when children are young. And that is, by the time your child gets to high school, you want 80%. By the way, if anyone has any questions, just jump in. It's homeschool Q&A today. By the time your child gets to high school, you want 80% of their work, ideally, to be driven by the student, to be independent, to be student-led. And the only way you're going to get to that point, the only way you're going to achieve that, is if at a young age you start developing the skill of playing independently, of doing work independently, right? So in getting your mom time, in taking care of yourself, you could actually have a very strategic objective, right? In properly developing your children so that when they're in middle school, when they're in high school, they can do a lot of that independent work. So you could set aside, hey, every Wednesday at, you could do this in many different ways, but every Wednesday at 1 p.m., right? From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., there's no television. It's independent playtime. We'll set up PlayStations for you, not like a PlayStation, the video game, but like set up your toys or set up your learning center, your learning stations. We could set up art stuff. You could do painting, whatever it might be. But from 1 to 3 p.m., you're on your own. There's no, mom is doing her thing. Mom's in the other room, or mom's out of the house, whatever it might be. Obviously, make sure that you never leave your child. Disclaimer, make sure you never leave your child alone if it is not lawful, right? Obviously. All right, but you make sure you get that independent mom time. Your child learns to do their independent play. You come back 100% recharged. Your child's learning that valuable skill. And then as they get into middle school and high school, they're more comfortable doing their independent work. Now, what type of independent work might that be? Well, I made a post today on the classicallearner.com channel, which I think is a really cool idea, kind of project-based learning, kind of research-based, project-based learning, which all children should do this assignment. It's a great assignment. You have your children watch Dwight Eisenhower's farewell speech. Dwight Eisenhower was the president of the United States. We're talking about the 1950s. And Dwight Eisenhower very famously gave a speech in regard to the military-industrial complex. He said that America didn't have a standing army before the World Wars, but now after the World Wars, in Eisenhower's opinion, a standing army was necessary. But with that came Boeing, right? And all these companies, DuPont, right? A military-industrial complex. What age would you say is good to start this? When you say this, are you talking about Eisenhower and the military-industrial complex, or are you talking about independent play hours, right? So a lot of people focus, and he called it by name. He said, the rise of a military-industrial complex, right? Well, that's what he's most famous for in that speech. But there's another aspect of that speech that is very important, and your children can really learn from. Eisenhower warned of the rise of a scientific technological elite. I'm going to get back to that. Independent play. So you can start that when your children are 4 years old, right? 3 or 4 years old. Now, that might not be 2 hours. That might be for the next 15 minutes. For the next, you know your child, right? For the next 25 minutes, you can set a timer. We're going to be doing independent play. So I'm going to set up your PlayStation, right? And for the next 15, 20 minutes, you're not playing with mom and dad, right? You're on your own doing independent play. And no screens, and you're just practicing that. And the next day, it could go from 15 minutes to 17 minutes, right? And you're just nurturing that skill, because learning to do things independently is a skill. So you can start that right from a young age. Back to Dwight Eisenhower. So he warned of the rise of a scientific, technological elite. Homeschool question day. I'm going to answer your questions. Will a child that refuses to do work at school be able to homeschool? Yeah, I think they're more likely to be successful, because why are they refusing to do work at school? Is it because they have been made to feel dumb? Is it because the work is too easy, right? There's many different reasons. Is it because they feel like they're not fitting in socially and they're lashing out for that reason? Is it, right? I mean, what is the underlying cause of your child not doing that work? But the thing about homeschool is you can start to customize education to their needs. So if it's the work is too easy for a child, right? If they master addition after 1 week of learning addition, they don't have to do that for the next month. Like, they can move on to multiplication. Or if the work is too hard and they feel deterred, like, relax. We don't have to do multiplication. Like, we could spend more time doing addition. Or we can, for whatever reason, I counseled one family one time that had that problem. And what I said was, we're going to, I called it the Bill Belichick model. Bill Belichick is this amazing football coach, right? He's won more Super Bowls than any other coach. And if you listen to him speak, I was a Patriot fan, so like I always had a good view of this. I obsessed over this stuff as a child. So if you listen to him speak, he would never talk about the playoffs. He would never talk about the Super Bowl. If you ask him a question about it, he wouldn't even talk about it. Why? People that don't understand what he was doing are like, what is wrong with this guy? Why is he such a jerk? He's not. It's a philosophy. So what he would do is he would say, they'd ask him about the Super Bowl, and he'd kind of scoff at it. Super Bowl? He's like, we're trying to have a good practice. We're trying to, I'm trying to make sure that when we run sprints, we're using a proper technique. Within each individual sprint that the players are running, are their elbows in? Because if your elbows aren't in, then how are you going to run at top speed, right? And if your elbows aren't in when you're running during practice, how are you going to run full speed during a game? So what I'm worried about is this individual practice session, are we using proper technique? Are we showing up early, right? If you're supposed to be there at 2 o'clock, I need my players there at 1:55, because if they're showing up at 1:59, how can you be focused at 2? And people kind of think he's a jerk. They're like, what is this guy talking about? No, he's talking about little improvements throughout the day, right? So when you have a child that maybe they get deterred, they feel like they're not good at things, or whatever the underlying cause is, right? Maybe my child's a C student and he doesn't want to do the work. Well, he's not going to be an A student overnight. So what we want to focus on is, can you give me an A session, right? I don't care about the end result. Like, one of the most profound things you'll learn about is not to care about the end result. The end result doesn't matter. What matters is the process. And if you do A work, meaning you actually just put in the work, like your technique, your practice was really good during that 20-minute session, I don't care if you got the problems right, then we're going to make that session like, wow, I love what you did during this session. You were so focused. When you didn't know things, you were asking questions. You were thinking critically, trying to figure things out. Like, that is what That is what I want you to focus on, because that is what will ultimately lead to the results in the long term and change your child's mindset. So, homeschooling a child who doesn't want to do work in public school is very advantageous. And when you really get into it, the biggest advantage is that you can follow the individual interests of your child, and you can use that interest to embed what you want them to learn. So for example, like if you have a child interested in bumblebees, you can Google search, or don't use Google, they suck, but you can use a search engine to search for, you type in bumblebees or bees plus homeschool unit studies and see if a unit study comes up. And a lot of these unit studies, you not only learn about bees, but they'll incorporate history, science, writing. Like in a unit study, you can really incorporate everything into it. So you can follow the interest of your child, use that to teach them things, and then maybe when you're doing that unit study on bees, maybe you go on a site like Art Hub for Kids. By the way, in my homeschool community, we're doing a unit study on bees right now, which is what made me think of that. But you can go on to like an Art Hub for Kids, and you can, Rockstem, I didn't get back to you, but yes, I'll do the podcast with you, absolutely. Sorry I don't always answer, I get a crazy amount of messages every day. So, to draw a bumblebee on Art Hub for Kids, and wow, I really like your bumblebee, I bet other people would like this, why don't we put it on a shirt? And then you can go onto a site like printful.com, show them how to upload their original artwork onto a shirt. Then you could say, oh, well, people will want to see this. Why don't you make an Instagram page, right? You have them make an Instagram page. Why don't we take a course in photography so you could take really nice pictures of your shirt? You have them take a class in photography. You have them take pictures of their shirt, post it on Instagram. You say, hey, if you want to spice this up, we could take a course in graphic design. You have them take a course in graphic design. They superimpose little bumblebees all around their shirt, right? And they learn skill after skill following their interest. There's so much you can do by following the interest of your children. And by the way, I coached the members of my homeschool community one-on-one how to do this. So that's something I'm passionate about, and it's a shameless plug as well. And I'll never be ashamed of that. All right. Homeschooling saved my child. So many people could testify to that. Because because public school is a prison with horrible rules and a horrible social culture, by the way, which everyone talks about socialization. Like, there is such a problem with bullying and antisocial behavior in public schools, right? You know, Eminem. When a kid's getting bullied and up to school and they blame it on Maryland and the heroin, where were the parents at? An upper class city having this happen, right? That's my way of saying it without saying it, right? But there's a big problem with this stuff because the culture in these schools is really bad. Everyone's cliquey. There's a lot of bullying. You're not allowed to stand up to a bully. If you stand up to a bully, then you get in trouble. And so what the school tells you is you have to tell on the bully. But if you tell on the bully, you don't deter the bully. You only become a tattletale, right? It's a terrible, terrible culture. And then that goes back to social media, right? It's a terrible culture of socialization. You guys didn't know I was going to do Eminem today, right? An upper class city having this happen. Now it's a tragedy. Now it's so sad to see. I have fun. How many books are in your series? I was looking to buy them. Yeah, if you go to www.classicallearner.com, you'll see the Cubs to Bears section, and all 7 books are listed. Free speech, social media censorship and the First Amendment, the right to bear arms, the peanut trap, you are what you eat, good bears always tell the truth, the bear from Jekyll Island, Operation Mockingbird, and the Church Committee are all books that I've written. 7 books. Yeah, classicallearner.com. Taking the time is a game changer. Belichick is awesome. He's definitely an awesome coach. You are validating everything I try to defend of my homeschooling. Yeah, you're doing a great job. And the beautiful thing about homeschooling is if something doesn't work, you could throw it out, recalibrate, and just try something else. So, like, don't feel, never get discouraged. And there are amazing homeschool communities online, like Homeschools Connected. DuckDuckGo. Yeah, DuckDuckGo is good, but DuckDuckGo is they got purchased by Google. So I don't even know what the good search engines are anymore. Maybe I heard Brave, but I don't know. Yeah, DuckDuckGo they sold out to Google, which makes me laugh because years back I put in a resume with DuckDuckGo, and I had an interesting conversation with the guy, but they didn't hire me, and now I look back and I'm like, oh, a bunch of sellouts. Of course they didn't want me because I'm based in Red Pills. I applied. You ready for this? I have a website that I didn't do anything with. I just have the website. It's writeyoursales.com, because before I made Classical Learner, I was like, you know what? I'll make this website, and if I want to, I could approach corporations and offer to do their copywriting because I was a very talented writer. But I decided I didn't want to go the route. I just made it as an asset. Like, I accumulate assets. That's what I do. So I made it as an asset, and I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I applied to be the head of international marketing for DuckDuckGo, and like, I actually got their attention. Like, I wound up speaking with their VP, and we were going back and forth, and he was like, you are one unique guy. Like, he was like, we're blown away. Like, we might be interested in having you in other positions. And I was like, no, I was just going for the head of international marketing. He's like, you don't have the requisite experience, sir. By the way, that's the theory of access, right? Like, you can do these things. You can do these things in real life. Like, never let anyone tell you what your worth is or what you can do. And by the way, I was making 6 figures at another job at the time. So, like, there's no limit to what you can do in this world. An upper class city having this happen. Now it's a tragedy. Now it's so sad to see. Yeah, just listen to Eminem's music. He definitely tells you he's evil. I don't like Eminem, by the way, but I grew up listening to that stuff. So, like, when I was a kid, I loved that stuff. So it's in my mind space. Like, I was a lacrosse player. Relatively speaking, for, like, my area, I was a really good lacrosse player. Nationally, I was a jag. I was just another guy. I mean, I got recruited D1. Like, I was pretty good, but I used to, in high school, I used to listen to Lose Yourself on replay, and I used to get into a real low vibration. Like, now I would never do that, like, get into that low vibration, but it, like, knees weak, arms sweaty, there's vomit on his sweater already, mom's spaghetti, he looks nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs, right? I used to listen to that on replay for like an hour before the game, and then I would just go nuts, and I was crazy. I was nut. Yeah, homeschool kids, the irony is, like, homeschool done right, the children are so much more, hey, Chalk Cloud, the children are so much more social than their public school. Like, you meet my child, Brady, it's hilarious. Just everywhere we go, he, like, collects friends. Everywhere we go, he probably makes 5 new friends. Like, we go places, and within 30 minutes, he's running around with 5 other children, and they're following him. And usually playing The Floor is Lava because he ropes them into the game. It's like, when you raise your child and you teach them that it's there, like, if they want to make friends, you better be social. And then you just bring them places all the time and experience an opportunity. It's not even a thing. Why do people tell me my son is being deprived of socialization? Because they don't know the first thing about homeschooling. They think they think socialization is sending your children to the same place every day where they only interact with the same 20 people who happen to be their same age peers, where they're told that if they don't cover their breathing holes, something terrible might happen, that if they get within not 5 feet, not 7 feet of another member of society, something horrible could happen to them, that they should have their little social cliques, right? Like, it's a terrible social environment. It's absolutely terrible. It's laughable. My son is at baseball. He's on a baseball team. On Tuesdays and Fridays, he's in a jiu-jitsu dojo. On Wednesdays, he's in a gymnastics class. On Fridays, he's in a church class. On Sundays, he has multiple playdates a week. We go to the park every week. We're out in town virtually every day. Like, it's so easy to socialize a child. It's not even like, it's so laughable. And when you see how social they can be, you're like, wow, public school really holds back their socialization because they're in this artificial environment all the time. Yeah, America has a massive problem with being offended. And yes, Eminem is not a good person. Everybody offends somebody sometimes. I control myself on here. I control myself if, I could get really offensive and enjoy it, but I digress. The Brave search engine. Hey, Tiffgog. Yeah, I like Jesse Lee Peterson. Jesse Lee. Jesse Lee's a good guy. I would love to talk to Jesse Lee. If anyone wants to try to get me on like these podcasts with these people and wants to send them emails and stuff, I'd greatly appreciate it. I would talk to Jesse Lee. Jesse Lee's a cool guy. He's a good role model for young people, unlike Eminem. Hey, Dottie Girl. I'm going to pronounce it Dottie Girl. I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce that. Ah, Tiffgog, you ordered your RV. Crushing. Are you on Homeschools Connected? My son is very social everywhere. My son makes new friends at the park, the library, everywhere. Yeah, anytime you like actually hang out with homeschool people, you're like blown away by how social their children are. Now, there are people that don't do it right. Like, yeah, if you keep your child in isolation all the time, obviously that's not good for social development. But like most homeschool parents, by the nature of them not taking 8 hours off from their children a day, like, let's see, you have parents that have the option of just sending their children away for 8 hours a day and then using that time, 8 hours a day extra of like doing what you want to do, but they choose to have their children at home because they're that committed. And then people be like, oh, but they're not going to get their children social. Like, no, homeschool parents are so much more committed to educating and raising their children than the average parent. And the average parent's very committed. But that's a whole nother ballgame when you're like, no, I won't get 8 hours a day of free time that I could have, right? That's a whole nother ballgame, people. That's a whole nother ballgame, right? So, like, homeschool parents take socializing their children very seriously. And because of that, they treat it like science or history, and they make sure that their children are out in town and, involved in all clubs and sports and everything. And that's why homeschool children are typically more social in my experience. My husband doesn't want... Nobody cared who I was until I put on Nobody cared who I was until I put on the... Yeah, I don't answer questions related to that topic because they don't want me talking about it on this platform. So I'll respect their platform. But if I had to say, I would say you should probably listen to your husband. You should probably follow his lead, right? That's what I would say. And I don't care if that's not popular. You're in a fear state. You've been watching too much television. You're right. I moved from New York. And in New York, you could imagine, just like California, how statist it is. How people completely buy into these narratives that are pushed by the television screen. But I moved to the South. And in the South, people are a lot more free-minded. In fact, it's not even close. It's the inverse of what they tell you on the screen. And nobody does that here. No one. Right? And there's no problem here. In fact, I don't watch the screen. Like, I don't watch the news ever. And because of that, that whole thing that started in March of 2020, that has been over since I moved here in July of last year. No one worries about it. Everyone's completely normal as if it's 2017. And people aren't dropping down in the streets. Everyone's fine. So it's like, listen to your husband. Like, but that's your husband's fault. Like, he needs to exhibit stronger leadership. And like, I'm not trying to get involved in your marriage and whatnot, but like, and again, this isn't popular. You shouldn't say this. Yes, I should. A husband, it's his job to lead his family. And when this whole thing started, I wasn't going to allow my wife and my family to fall into a fear state. And we didn't. And because of that, we're thriving. And you should listen to him, and he should exhibit stronger leadership. Everyone offends somebody sometimes. We homeschool 3 boys, ages 7 to 13, and they love it. Yeah, Tiff God, you're crushing. I would listen to Miss Classical Learner because she's an acupuncturist. Yeah, most people that are like awake to the world aren't really, they don't get scared when the screen tells them to get scared. Right? They don't get scared. Screen told me to be scared. Right? Yeah, and then the screen told you to focus on a conflict happening across the world. Then the screen told you to focus on what happens when a woman gets pregnant. Right? Like, people just focus on whatever the screen tells them to focus on. They're like, the screen is my master. I do what the screen tells me to do. I think what the screen tells me to think. It's like, let me tell you a secret. They're lying. Let me tell you about Operation Mockingbird and the Church Committee. I wrote a book on the subject. It's called Operation Mockingbird and the Church Committee. And the CIA spent billions of dollars essentially buying mainstream news journalists. And when you turn on the television and there appears to be this variety, this choice, right? There's 5 corporations control 90% of what you see when you turn on the television. And then if you want to get more insidious, BlackRock and Vanguard, 2 corporations, especially BlackRock, control basically nearly every corporation in the United States. You want to know what's very interesting? Blackstone, which is a sister company, a break-off company from BlackRock, just purchased Ancestry.com. Ancestry.com, whose CEO is the sister of Wojciech, whatever her name is, the one that runs YouTube, right? So these conglomerates of power have immense control over your life, and they have immense influence. And if you turn on the screen, if you put on the mainstream news, if you put on Hollywood, if you go to their academic institutions, they will convince you of a worldview that is based on a narrative that is based on, you guys know. Yeah, Tifgog, that is super crushing. I'm super happy for you. That's awesome. Yes, we are plant-based and take care of our body. Homeschool forced me to be social. That's awesome. Yeah, of course your son with speech delays could benefit from homeschooling because you could structure his education based around his pace. Like, if he's nervous about his ability to communicate or whatnot, well, there are places like the, well, for one, Memoria Press and Gemini Homeschooling have good programs. Then there is the Center for Speech and Dyslexia. I might be getting that wrong, which could do one-on-one tutoring. There are programs which I would definitely have your son take, like Winning Feathers, which are completely devoted to public speaking. So your son could practice his public speaking because that's important, and he needs confidence in that. Take on challenges. Don't be afraid, and just do everything within his comfort range. Learn at his pace, learn at his style, and your son will do great. As a mom of four small children, I need speech therapy. As a mom with four small, as a mom with four small children, that free time is the only thing I miss. So yeah, you need to find a way, and I need to get better at this too. That's what I've been realizing with my wife and everything. Like, you need to find a way to make sure, it's true for mom and dad, but especially mom, because mom has so much more of a burden with the children. Like, my daughter's 11 months old, and she adores me, but she's obsessed with mom, right? Like, mom has the goodies, and Orbs is obsessed with mom. So, like, it's hard to get a break. So, find a way for, like, if it's an hour a day or whatever works for your family. Maybe every Wednesday for 2 hours, mom just gets out of the house and does, whatever you want to do, whatever you like to do. I don't know what you like to do. Just get your hair done, go to a restaurant, I don't know, go to a gym. What do you like to do? Tell me. I don't know. You haven't told me, right? But you do, for like, schedule some time for mom, because if you're 100%, it's much easier for you to give your children 100%. Now, we as parents, we're always giving our children 100%, but when we're feeling 60% ourselves, it's not as easy to do that. Try not to stress, live life normally, and have faith in your immune system. Allegedly, could it be? It's not advice. I'm not a professional in that field. No, I'm not, All right. Yep, children thriving since homeschooling. Tifgog stopped watching news in 2018. I don't remember when I stopped, but you might have beat me to it. Crushing. I was like, wait a second. These people just lie every day. Why would I spend my time listening to someone that lies to me constantly? Isn't that what happens in an abusive relationship? And then it dawned on me. The gaslighting from the mainstream media is the same behavior. In fact, most of their behaviors are the same behaviors exhibited within abusive relationships. So the people of the United States of America are in an abusive relationship with the corporate media. That's my opinion. In my opinion, if you're in an abusive relationship, you should walk away, right? Because you shouldn't be abused. Well, I turn off the screens, and so does Tifgog, An RVing legend. Thank you very much. I've been thinking a lot about this. Marine Princess just rolled out of bed. She calmly rolled out of bed. She's doing her morning stretches. She's probably drinking some coffee. She's relaxing a little bit. And she has joined us on the stream. I would like to see my son progress more on speech Yeah, check out Memoria Press, Gemini Homeschooling, the Center for Speech and Dyslexia, although I'm probably getting that wrong. It's in Homeschools Connected. It's listed on my curriculum library and my resource library. I'm not quite sure what it's called off the top of my head. I think that might be right. Google, DuckDuckGo, Brave it. I don't know. My wife treated so many people with, well, you guys see those type of issues. Best not said. All right. The screens remind me of Frankenstein. Fire, bad. Freedom, bad. By the way, anyone interested in what we do, it's Homeschools Connected at classicallearner.com. Oh, there. We have a whole community that supports each other. Brett and I are also accessible. Yeah, we have an amazing community of people like Melissa, RVing across America, Marine Princess, absolute legend. I only make fun of them because I love these people. Like, these are great human beings. So, we have a primary chat that it runs, like, people are having conversations all day. Like, hey, what do you do if your child's in this situation? Blah, blah, blah. What resources do you use for this? You have access to myself, right? If you want to inbox me and like, hey, I'm having this issue. What do you think I should do? We have a pen pal program. We have state groups so that you could connect with people in the state that you live, and people have had meetings in the real world that have met in our state groups, which is super cool. I teach courses. I teach a live course every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Right now, I'm teaching about the Bill of Rights and the American Revolution. We have a course on propaganda, a course on the media-industrial complex. We're doing a year-long nature unit study, which is really cool. So that's all at classicallearner.com, Homeschools Connected. And if you use the discount code FREEDOM, all lowercase, it's $10 a month. Ideas on teaching a visual spatial learner. What do you guys think? Teaching a visual spatial learner. Well, you could definitely have them do work with videos, I would think, but I would get them curriculum that has a lot of vivid images. There's one curriculum I really love. I really love it. It has the best pictures. Oh, what's it called? It's not My Father's World. Oh, what is it called? It's so good for that. Not My Father's World. Although that's a good one. All right, I'll make a video on that curriculum. I'll make one on @RealBrettPike this week. Check out @RealBrettPike this week, and I will. It's really good. But yeah, I would do a lot of imagery. Like, if they learn through images, then let them see a lot of images. Right, my wife does that, a lot of like work with art projects, and a lot of like when they do their reading, if you have a visual learner. So one of the things you can do is have them do work with a highlighter, and they could actually break different topics like within an individual reading. So like they could be like, anytime this text is talking about bumblebees, we highlight that whole section in yellow. Anytime the text is talking about plants, we highlight the whole section in green. And then you're taking their visual, the way they learn, like you're taking when they're reading and you're actually making it more visual so that they have like these very pretty study guides and things of that nature. So you can do a lot of work with pictures. You can do a lot of work with like color coding. You could do a lot of work with art projects. You could get curriculums that are more visual in their nature. So a lot of stuff like that. And then any auditory type of learning they do, like you could back it up with visuals. So don't be afraid to back things up with video related to certain subjects if that's the way your children learn. We start homeschooling this coming year. I'm scared that I can't do it, but I'm determined. Nah, you're going to do great. Like if you try something and it doesn't work out, you just throw it out and try something else. And one of the biggest mistakes that new homeschool families make is they feel pressure to replicate the 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. 45-minute block public school schedule because they feel like if they don't do that, they're not doing enough. Nonsense. That makes children hate learning in the first place. No, start with baby steps. Start with like an hour a day, on one subject, and then just build off of that. And then do unschooling on the side, where you basically do like projects based off of what your child is interested in, and then just kind of grow from there. So there's so much you can do. My wife, just sit alone in the car. Right? After you start, it will come natural. Join our homeschool community, and you'll benefit as much as the child. Leave my girl alone. She's renovating her house. She's talking about Marine Princess is crushing. Marine Princess is, she hasn't updated me, but Nicole has been updating me on what she's doing. Some pretty cool stuff happening there. And by the way, like, I wish Marine Princess would post her organizational stuff in Homeschools Connected more. She is like an organizational savant. In fact, not only that, but she should make TikTok videos all about her organization. She's a published author, by the way. She wrote a book. If you go to the Marine Princess TikTok channel, she wrote a book all about getting in shape and healthy living. And she is a retired United States Marine, an honorably discharged United States Marine. So she knows all about that. So all of you should definitely check out what Marine Princess has to offer. How early can you start homeschooling? The day they're born. The day they're born. When they're babies, you want to start with a language-rich environment. So let me give an example of that. A language-rich environment. Is there any item in my hand? Item I like to show it. I don't have any items. Oh, you like Daddy's hat? Yeah, this is Daddy's hat. I wear my hat on my head. I took my hat off my head. My hat's off my head. Here, do you want to touch my hat? Yeah. Oh, you're touching my hat. Do you feel it? It's a little bit rough and rigid, right? It's hat. Can you squeeze? You can squeeze it in your hand. You're squeezing the hat in your hand. Can you give me? Can you give me? Can you give me? Yay, you give me. You gave me the hat. All right, ready? I'm going to take the hat and I'm going to put the hat on my head. The hat's on my head. Do you want to touch the hat on my head? You can touch. You can feel the hat on my head. You feel? It's a little bit rough, right? It has give, pat, pat, pat. So really for the first year of my children's lives, I do that. And it's annoying to other people that are around. But for anyone that's been around my children, all the time, people are blown away by their language. Like, wow, they have such incredible language. Yes, because I've understood that from a young age, children are hardwired, especially the first few years of their life, to pick up language. So that first year of their life, you want to narrate their life, and you want everything to be in context. So if you're cooking and they could feel the hot steam, disclaimer, never put your child's hand in hot stuff, but if they can feel the hot steam, right, from a safe distance, you immediately walk over to the freezer and put their hand on the freezer. Cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. Everything's in context. You just start day one. As they get older, you could have them cook with you, get a stool so they could stand up there and cook with you. Homeschooling is a culture. Homeschooling is a lifestyle. And the more you establish that, the more you crush. After you start, it will come. It'll come. Hey. That is a good-looking mustache. That mustache just isn't in the cards for me. It's just not in the cards. Yeah, I got I got this whole thing going on, right? Like, I don't grow hair there, but I don't care. I mean, I'm gonna have a little stash and a little goatee because the Bible says that a man should have that, and I follow the Bible. But yeah, if I had that awesome cowboy stash, that would be. I told Nicole I told Nicole that once we get to the homestead, I'm getting a cowboy hat. I already have nice boots. I'm gonna be looking good. I'm gonna be a cowboy. I'm gonna wear the cowboy shirts. And oh, I lost connection. Is the connection back? And when the time is right, I'm just saying, when the time is right, we may get a horse. We may get a horse, and I may ride that horse with my cowboy hat, with my boots, and with my right to bear arms. And then I'll know that at that moment my life has worked out. I'll know at that moment that all my dreams have come true and that I am a cowboy. My children are going to be cowboys and cowgirls. Like, don't think for a second they're not. Like, my daughter Aubrey, by the time she's 10 years old, she's going to have her hat, her spurs, her horse, and her right to bear arms, and she is going to crush. Don't mess with my daughter, boys. I mean, you won't want to deal with me, but I'm raising her right, and you won't want to deal with her. Because never, ever, ever let anyone convince you that the Second Amendment is not women's rights, because that is women's rights. That is the great equalizer, because a woman can be dating The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin, but with that little innovation in human technology, she is just as strong and powerful as he is. And that is liberating. And never let anybody tell you or your daughters different. That's like people like, oh, you don't want to mess with Brett. You don't want to mess with my wife. My wife is a bad mama jamma with the steel, if you can catch my drift. My wife is a bad mama jamma. She gets me going, girl. All right. How can you start with homeschooling? Baby steps. Baby steps. Go to HSLDA.org. By the way, for the new people, I joke around all the time. So, like, what is the guy talking about? Go to HSLDA.org, the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, and they'll have a map of the country. Click on the state that you live, and they list the regulations you need to be aware of and all the paperwork you could print that you need to declare your intent to homeschool with the school district. Lots of posters. Oh, my wife just made a poster. If you go to classicallearner.com, she made a poster on bumblebees of like the different roles of bees. You actually, if you go to Classical Learner, I gotta adjust it, but if you go to classicallearner.com and go to the Classical Learner merch, I don't know how to explain it to it. All right, if you go to classicallearner.com and you go to the books, Cubs to Bears books, and scroll down, you'll see a poster of the Bill of Rights poster. My wife made that poster. So then when you click on that poster, it will take you to another website. And on that website is her Bumblebee poster. I know, I need to fix up the website. I'm aware. I've just been very busy and I just need to get to it. And I honestly, I either need to really learn to code it or to hire a coder. I haven't got around to doing it. But anyway, she made this Bumblebee poster. It's fire. For the members of the homeschool community, you could print that poster. You could print it from the Nature Unit Study lesson plan this week. The Bumblebee poster, as well as the Bill of Rights poster. But obviously, like, the poster's nicer. Like, she made a real poster. So my wife is crushing. She crushes. She does that. What a good idea. Love this. Thank you. My child will be anti-gov for life. Well, like, here's the thing about me. Like, everyone thinks I'm anti-government, but the truth is, like, I'm not anti-government. Like, I'm anti-overreaching federal government. Like, I like small government. Like, I want my local police force to be a good police force. But, like, it has to be local, and that means you have to have a good sheriff, which means electing the right sheriff is very important, right? Like, I like having, like, some of these things that the government does are good. Like, I like that I have property rights. I like that if someone tries to make a claim on my property, that I could defend that property in court, right? Like, that's what, like, government's confused, like, government's tricky. And, you know, you get the people who, the anarcho-capitalist types, and they're like, oh, get rid of the government. Yeah, and replace it with what? Replace it with what? Might is right? I mean, yes, the government's right is might, but what? Am I supposed to deal with the whims of the army of Walmart, right? So I'm for smaller government, and the more we get back to state rights, the better, because then people actually have a say. But this overreaching federal government of like these insane people in California trying to tell the rest of the country how to live. Like, yeah, you guys are doing a fine job living. Go live how you want to live. If you want to go do what you do, you guys go do that. But yeah, you want to teach. Everyone who follows my stuff knows how I very much teach about all the problems with the government, and the government extends. It's like it goes beyond. Well, here's the thing: like the government is fascistic, in that our government today is really, it's the real definition of fascism. It's a mold of communism, fascism, and it's these partnerships between the government and corporations. So, you know, it's the government mandating that you have to get certain procedures, right? But that's really a partner with the corporation. Or the government calling Mark Zuckerberg in front of Congress and asking him why he doesn't do a better job of silencing Miss you-know-what, right? Or dis you-know-what, right? So it's like corporations could be more tyrannical than the government itself, but like the government at its bones, like this is why I teach a course on the Bill of Rights. Like my speech is limited by the corporation of Twitter. Now they have artificial protection from the government through the Communication and Decency Act of Section 230, right? So it's not really a corporation, it's a corporate government partnership, which is why it should be bound by the First Amendment, right? But like Twitter will take away my free speech, but I can go speak at like a public building. I can go say what I want to say, right? So it's like, it's tricky. Like when the group of people that I'm involved with got involved in a dispute with Patreon, right? We actually, through the court system, were able to achieve what we wanted to achieve. And Patreon wound up having to pay millions of dollars for the original arbitrations that we filed against them, right? And that was that's through the court system. So it's like government has good aspects and bad aspects. The truth is it's just a tool. So, you know, all this stuff is tricky. Like there's a lot of nuance to it, but I'm not anti-government. In fact, most people will be surprised to find out that I'm not even completely anti-CIA or anti-FBI, because I always make my videos pointing out their corruption, right? And corruption needs to be pointed out, and the system needs to be reformed so that there's actual checks and balances and people could be held accountable for things. But like, if the United States of America got rid of the CIA, right? You get rid of the CIA, and this is shocking to people from me, right? Because of everything I report on. But if you got rid of the CIA tomorrow, so what happens? Then do we let Mossad and MI6 run ramshot on our population? Right? Because all these other countries in the modern world, they have all these intelligence agencies. And these, again, I'm not going to get too into it on this platform. These agencies and these countries are immensely influential and powerful. So if we don't have checks against that, it's a big, big problem. It's like the world is nuanced, the world is complex, but you know, ultimately you get back to smaller government and you protect the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, you know, you have a decent leg to stand on. And the truth is that like people are looking for, oh, we need a perfect system. We need a perfect system. Yeah, I mean, good luck with that, right? Good luck finding your perfect system. Yeah, I mean, you get the anarcho-capitalists, and they're like, oh, we don't need the government. Oh yeah, oh yeah. What's to stop me from coming to your house and taking all your stuff? How you gonna stop me? How do you stop? How do you stop creeps? How do you stop creeps from targeting the most vulnerable in our society? You know who I'm talking about. How do we stop those type of creeps from targeting the most vulnerable? Oh, well, you know, like, oh, well, everything will be based off of consent, and people will stand up if there's no consent. You don't think they could get consent? Just because someone consents doesn't make it. Don't make it right. You can get people to consent to things. I mean, we had a lady in here wondering why her husband doesn't want to cover his breathing hole. You can get people to consent to things. Yeah, unschooling. Love your stuff, brother. You know, one of my favorite movies is from the movie Shooter, and Bob Lee Swagger is sitting there with the expert on the right to bear arms, and the expert on the right to bear arms knows that Bob Lee Swagger is the guy that the news is looking for, and he's sitting there talking with him, and he grabs Bob Lee Swagger's hand to see the powder on his hand, and he feels his hand, and he goes, "Just when you think you got it figured out, you're wrong. You keep that in mind, Gunny." And that's one of the truest lines ever spoken in a movie, because this world is complex, and there are psychological operations backed up by psychological operations, backed up by psychological operations. And people are like, oh, the news, the news, the news. You know how many social media influencers are under that same auspices of what that original Operation Mockingbird was, right? Like, what do you think, Joe Rogan? What do you think? Joe Rogan gets $130 million to not be a gatekeeper? Just when you think you got it figured out, you're wrong. You keep that in mind, Gunny. Because I followed people that are really intelligent, real truth speakers, and you don't get $130 million. You become very hard to find. You become very hard to find on the internet. My son is 9 months old and we're going to homeschool. Correction, you're already homeschooling and you're crushing. Every day is a learning experience. Raising animals and growing food will be essential to know down the road. 100%, yes, yes. My son is 9 months old and we're always learning. My wife said she lives with the real life Blippi. Best live yet. All right, the people are liking it. The people are liking it. Crushing. Everyone's crushing. Everyone's crushing. Thank you. You do comedy too? You hear that, Nicole? The people say I'm hilarious. The people say I am hilarious. I should probably do stand-up. Oh, our tree arrived. Our baby hazelnut tree just arrived. For my birthday, Nicole got me a baby plum tree, which arrived on my birthday, which was 2 days ago. And she ordered me a baby hazelnut tree, which apparently just arrived. So I am going to nurture and love said tree until it grows into the most... Oh, Nicole, you know what I found this morning? Our Honeycrisp tree fell down. Don't worry, people. It's in a bucket. So I stood it back up. But it fell down, and that was with... I had put a bunch of rocks in it, and it still fell down. So I don't know. We have to get a stake and stake the Honeycrisp tree into the ground because a couple of leaves broke off. You know, we were lucky the apples didn't break off. But if we lose our apples, I might cry. You ever heard the expression, don't cry over spilled milk? Don't cry over broken apples. But I might cry. I love my trees so much that I walk into the orchard and I just sing to them. I walk into the orchard, I'm like, I could stay awake just to see you breathing. Oh, the cowboy hats. It's not a matter of if. The cowboy hat is happening, okay? It's happening. And if I could get a cowboy hat that says unschoolable on it, whoo! By the way, why for the life of me every one of you don't have an unschoolable hat is beyond me because I really like our unschoolable hats. I really like them. In fact, Nicole, I want to make a hoodie. I want to make a black sweatshirt hoodie, just big bold letters, unschoolable across the chest. We're definitely not in New York anymore. Judith from... Yeah, she's going to be like Judith from The Walking Dead. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really how I picture Aubrey. Like, when I see little Aubs Frankensteining around with her arms in the air and waddling like a penguin, I see Judith. Like, I'm like, ooh, 10 years from now, she's going to be riding a horse. She going to be a bad mama jamma. Don't you mess with my daughter. An allegedly cowboy hat. Yeah, check out HSLDA.org. We do not co-parent with the government. Oh, Nicole, can you write that down? That's a great shirt as well that we could make. Melissa is like a one-liner gem. She's just dropping one-liners. Look at that, dropping one-liners. We do not co-parent with the government. That's a great shirt. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, no, not a shirt. Bumper sticker. Bumper sticker. Nicole, make that a bumper sticker. We do not co-parent with the government. Bumper sticker. Yeah, everything should be done on a state level. And then even better than that, like a local town level. Like you want to have state laws because you want to know, like, if you're carrying something on your hip, right? I need to know that if I have something on my hip, that I could drive from one county to another, especially because I might live right on the county line. Like, right? And I don't want it to be illegal in one county and then I drive over the line, get pulled over, and now I'm in a bad position, right? So, like, you want some legal cohesion, but everything is... Yeah, I am definitely not against government. I am definitely not. I think we need to have more control over our local governments. We need to get involved with our sheriff. We need to get involved in our local town assemblies. Like, our politicians need to know our name, the local ones, and we need to, our school boards, right? Like, I'm the homeschool guy. Don't be surprised if I wound up being a school board president one day. Like, our school boards need to answer to the people in our town, right? So, local governance, because there is no getting rid of government. And like I said, even with something that you would think seems obvious like the CIA, like, yeah, you want you want MI6 running psyops on you, and you have no apparatus fighting back against that, right? So it's like, man, this world's complex. This world is tricky, tricky, tricky. Like, I think the founding fathers had it right where they tried to create checks and balances, and what we need is just more checks and balances for the modern world. Like, especially bureaucracies. Bureaucracies need checks and balances because these bureaucracies are just, we have allowed these bureaucracies to essentially make laws through regulations, and something needs to change with that. But again, I can't control the federal government, but we could certainly fight back on our local level. And that's why, like, I'm so into nation building. Like, all right, people have lost the definition of nation. Like, what is the Iroquois nation? Is the Iroquois nation a geographic area in which the Iroquois tribe lived, or is the Iroquois nation a group of people, and that group of people transcends a geographic location? So a nation is the latter. A nation is a group of people. So when I talk about nation building, and that's why, like, I talk about in-group preference, like hiring your friends, like starting businesses, hiring your friends, getting married, being a good husband, being a good wife, growing your food, sharing that food with your neighbor, being a really good neighbor, getting involved in your local town assemblies, knowing your sheriff, holding them accountable that way. Like, building the American nation, because it's hard to control the laws, especially on that federal level, but we could control our culture through nation building. And then through that culture, we could control our local politics. And then if you do enough nation building, gain enough control of local politics, then you can start to, from the grassroots level, affect national politics, right? So, like, that's why, like, I'm for that stuff. I advocate for that stuff, but the problem is most people, they think they're making change by fighting over national politics, but that's exactly where they want you fighting. In fact, if they wanted people fighting over local politics, all the news would talk about is local politics, because they have the power of a wizard. Their power, right? They like to hypnotize, right? Their power is, today we are going to focus on March of 2020 and beyond. Today we are going to focus on a conflict happening in Europe. Today we are going to focus on women getting pregnant and what happens after that, right? They control people's focus. And if they wanted you to focus on that stuff, that's what they would point your attention to. That's why people should get in the habit of trying to focus on what they're not telling you to focus on, right? Like, if I was trying to control a group of people, why would I turn their attention to what I don't want them to have their attention on, when I could just have them fight over what happens after a woman gets pregnant? Like, I could put a law into place that is so contradictory to the founding principles of the country, right? Like America was rooted a Christian country, and they subverted that through borders, right? And then I could make a law that is so contradictory to that, and then for 40 straight years, I could have people just fight on that issue and not focus on anything that's actually productive or anything people actually have control over, right? So it's all wizardry. And, like, you know, don't think like this getting the supposed overturn, which isn't official, right? Like, this is what they want to happen right now. This is just, they've done that because this is where they want people's attention. And they have very effectively taken everyone's attention off of what happened since 2020. And it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how people just, like, anyway, if I were a district attorney, for example, if I were a district attorney, a lot of people would have to answer. I would go through the proper process, and then a lot of people would have to answer to a jury of 12 as to what has happened in America over the last few years, right? So, but people just lose their focus on that. And then there's 90,000 page document releases, and people don't even talk about it. 90,000 page document releases that, in my opinion, are just the information I know from those 90,000 pages is, in my opinion, enough to bring up charges on people. But we're not supposed to talk about that. By the way, classicallearner.com. If you're not a member of our group, Homeschools Connected, I don't know why you wouldn't be. Use the promo code FREEDOM. It's $10 a month. You get access to everything we provide, the curriculum I teach, the whole community. And by the way, it supports a really good thing because, supporting what I do is probably good for the world. I'm definitely biased, but all right. It always jumps from the comments, so I try to go back and find the comments. Do I know anyone versed in Florida homeschooling? RVing Across America is enrolled in Florida. She crushes. We also have an awesome state group. The Florida state group in our community is pretty. We have a good amount of members, which is cool. Hello from New Jersey. Yeah, HSLDA.org has all the info you need for the regulations. Working on saving up to buy property. But listen, don't fall into the trap of you need the biggest property or the biggest house you can get. Yeah, it's okay. You could have a little mortgage or whatnot. Just don't go crazy. And because if you do that, your life is so much more manageable. You don't want to be in a position 3 years from now where they're telling you that now you have to do this or you can't work and you feel like you have to pay a mortgage, right? So it's be careful. Where are you from? I don't know. A lot of people tell me they want to hurt me, so I'm in the South. Looking forward to looking into your program. I'm a former provider. I like your concept. Happy belated birthday. Thank you. Happy belated birthday. Baby tree, I can't wait to see our tree. I just got chickens last week. I'm done waiting for my bigger lot. They'll love being next to the garden. Yeah, I don't know why everyone wouldn't garden and everyone wouldn't get chickens if you can, because one, it's a great way to educate your children. It's responsibility. You could teach them skills. You could get them entrepreneurial experience with it. And two, with everything going on in the world, we have seen what happened with Trader Joe's. We've seen what has happened with the supply chain. For a while, people couldn't even get new cars, right? Because the little chips that are made in China weren't, they couldn't ship them here because there was a supply chain shortage, right? So I don't know why everyone wouldn't grow their own food and do all that. You position yourself much better as a family. Whereas you have these people like Bill Gates, who he's the number one owner of farmland in the United States of America. You have that whole situation going on with those processing plants that make the stuff that we eat, right? That whole situation. And you have these companies that Bill Gates invests in that want everyone to eat fake meat and whatnot, genetically modified lab-grown meat, right? You got Cortez talking about cow farts, right? The writing's on the wall, people. If you don't grow your own food now, you're going to wish you did later. And the thing is, people look at me and they're like, wow, look at that operation he has. He grows a lot of food. I'm completely reliant on the system right now. I am completely and utterly dependent on the system right now. And I have a pretty extensive operation going. It takes time to build up to where you get to the point where you're independent. So right now, I'm still dependent on the system. Within the next 3 to 5 years, we will have enough food production where we're not. And I don't know why everyone wouldn't just start with one seed, a tomato plant, grow that plant, and you'll just take off from there. You will do great. That's our strength. That's our nation. We need local supply chains. One of the things I did this week, which I thought more people would be excited about, was I added a community businesses section to Homeschools Connected. Why did I do that? I wanted a place where you all could post your businesses so that you all could buy from each other. So like come the holidays, you could all buy your Christmas presents from each other, right? Like this is how we build a country. This is how we build our nation. These are supply chains, right? This is how you keep the money in your community, right? You buy from members of your community, they buy from you. It creates like a battery, right? Like don't be reliant on the system. So plant seeds, plant a tomato plant. At the end of the season, you can eat your tomatoes, you can make salads, you can make a homemade sauce, which is like the most rewarding thing in the world, and it tastes so much better than the sauces you buy at the store. Just amazing stuff. I love homemade sauce. You can make ketchup. I haven't done ketchup yet, but we will be making our own ketchup in the future, no doubt about it. You best believe we'll be making ketchup now. So you have to catch up to me and start planting tomato seeds. But everything I do here, like look what Homeschools Connected. We're nation building. Build. Like I love you guys. Like Melissa's an amazing person. Marine Princess is an amazing person, right? Like we can build our nation and we can build supply chains. We can grow food. Like imagine we all start growing enough food where if stuff hits the fan, then we can actually have some type of supply chain where we're getting food from one another. Like, there's so many amazing things we can do just through building. But it starts at the grassroots level. It starts with the man or the woman in the mirror and taking personal responsibility. Hey, Amy, how you doing? And if we do that, there's no limit to the amazing things that we can do. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have so many apples. In fact, I'm about to go plant another apple tree because I had a Honeycrisp apple last night and I saved the seed, so I'm going to plant a tree. Oh, doing good, Amy. I'm about to wrap this stream up. The link to the Discord can be found at www.classicallearner.com. That's Homeschools Connected. And by the way, Amy, this was a phenomenal stream. Like, you should definitely go back and watch this one. I'll probably stream for a few more minutes here, but we had a good stream. People were saying it's the best stream yet. I don't know. You know, I don't know. Yeah, classicallearner.com, Homeschools Connected, and use the promo code FREEDOM. It's $10 a month. And you know, that's monthly, so you could drop it at any time. So that's pretty cool. All lowercase on the Freedom. I want that shirt. Everyone wants the shirt. Coley, make the shirt. The first time I made shirts, I had them printed. I had someone design them. I had them printed in advance, and we printed, I think, 200 shirts or something like that. And I sold one shirt. And people would look back at that and say, wow, Brett, that was a massive failure. No, it wasn't, because it taught me how to not sell shirts. Everything in life is mindset. Like, I'm a successful business person. I teach other people how to be successful business people now. But I built up to that, and I learned how to do that through failures. And we need to get in the mindset of that it's okay to fail, and that most people aren't even trying. And if you apply yourself and you learn, then there is no such thing as failure because you keep learning. And especially apply that to our children. we don't want our children afraid to fail, which public school makes them like, oh, I don't want to fail. I don't want to get a C or a D or an F. Like, no, like, I want my children to fail because that means they're trying things and they're learning things and they're facing adversity and overcoming adversity. And that's ultimately how you become an absolutely legendary social media influencer who has a homestead, lives life out of debt, grows their own food, runs their own business, has an amazing wife, 2 children, God willing, more on the way. Through failure, right? And I don't say that stuff like, oh, he's bragging. No, I'm not. I'm trying to teach people this mindset. Like, you can do amazing things in this world. You know, Jesus Christ said that you will do more amazing things than I ever did. Jesus Christ said, you will do better things than I ever did. Who are we to reject the doctrine of that divinity, right? When Jesus says that, he expects us. He's not saying that because he's like, oh, because maybe you'll do better things. He's Jesus. He's telling you, like, I expect you to do better things than I ever did. And by the way, I'm not saying I'm doing better. I'm not even in the same stratosphere. I'm not even in the same dimension. And that's probably a literal thing. I'm not in the same dimension as Jesus, all right? And I'm not saying that. But my point is that we can do amazing things in this world and we should strive to do them. And we should strive to be good people, and we should strive to be good community. And if you're Christian like me, you should strive to be a good Christian. And, you know, the only limitations we have are in our mind. And I hope all of you see that. My live froze. I just have that info on the site. Yeah, classicallearner.com, Homeschools Connected. Use the discount code FREEDOM, all lowercase. It's $10 a month. You get access to myself. I have a running, you can inbox me, basically. Anything you need. Say, hey, Brad, I'm having trouble with this. Or what do you think about this situation? Or I want to do this on schooling. What do you recommend? You get access to Mrs. Classical Learner, Legend. You get access to the accumulative knowledge of our hundreds of homeschool mothers and fathers in the community, who people like Melissa RVing across America, people like Marine Princess, who, I mean, they have such wisdom with homeschooling. You get access to our state group so you can meet people in the state that you live, our Pen Pal program, which is really cool, the live class that I teach every Thursday on the Bill of Rights, the course I taught on propaganda, the course I teach on the media industrial complex, and our year-long nature unit studies. So you should definitely check that out. Cubs to Bears books on Amazon. Be fruitful and multiply. Life is beautiful. And spread the Garden of Eden. We need to start bartering and trading, right? And stop relying on the convenience of capitalism. Absolutely. Like, you know, here's the thing. Like, the irony is, like, I probably am a commie, but I'm just a voluntary commie. Like, I'm all for, like, I'm for a constitutional republic that is free market capitalism. But within that free market capitalism, I want to have my own voluntary community. Like, I want to have the unschoolables where we're like, you know, we just count on each other. Not because anyone's forcing us to, because that's the problem with those people, those hammer and sickle people. They're, you know, they try to control everything you do. Like, no, I want to grow my tomatoes and voluntarily share them with Melissa, right? I hope you go viral someday. I have gone viral. I have a big TikTok following, and my Instagram's pretty big too. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I really should get a social media where I could do gravy. Because it's the gravy that brings people in. Like, did you know this conspiracy? Now I'm going to cover it. And then people are like, oh, I want the gravy, right? Oh, hey, Amy. Yeah, no, I have I think 270,000 social media followers at this point. So I've gone viral a few times. But yeah, I would like to, I think I do want to do something like that on like an alternative platform where we just talk about gravy. Because I think that would bring in a lot of eyeballs. I think we could do some good interviews, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I definitely haven't mastered YouTube. I don't put in the time to do it. Every time I want to put in the time to do it, I'm like, oh, I don't have the time for this. And then I just don't. So I do the live streams on here. And then like, I don't even post I should post my TikToks and everything. Like I should post them all as shorts on YouTube, but I don't have the time to do it. And I haven't been posting on the alternative social media platforms because my thumbs hurt, which might sound like, oh, you're being a softie. But like, no, like I think I probably have carpal tunnel in both my hands. And my hands hurt all the time. And I just can't post on all these platforms. It's debilitating. So, it is what it is. I don't know. I should try to do it more. I should get someone to do it for me. You know, just all they'd have to do is download my videos from that I post on TikTok and then just repurpose them. We need to start bartering and trading. That's the way. My hubby said he loves your tube for the trees. Very smart. Yes, 100%. We are trying to get started before the shish hits the fan. Oh yeah, our planting baskets that Nicole has been getting, she gets those I guess for $8. I didn't. She bought them, not me, but she gets those for $8 at Walmart. Like I said, it's not that I never shop at Walmart, but like some things, it's advantageous to do that. It's just when you can shop mom and pop, you shop mom and pop. But like baskets, buckets, we garden so much that it's very expensive. So she gets those $8 laundry baskets at Walmart. There's 17 gallons, and we actually plant our trees in those gardening baskets. Sounds like a good job for a young teen. Yes, it does. Do you want eggs? I'm making a bunch. I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait till we have chickens. I'm so excited for chickens. Chickens and bees are the first animals we're getting. Chickens, bees, and a cat. A cat that I will name Charisma. I'm so excited to get a cat and name it Charisma because I'm going to need a farm cat to keep all the... Once you're on the homestead and you have all of this food, and when I talk about food, I'm talking about a very serious planting operation. You get cats, you get mice, you get rabbits. So I'm going to need cats to be my little, regulators. Regulators! I'm going to need regulators. So one of the things I'm going to do is get a white cat named Charisma, and she's going to be an outdoor cat. And she's not going to use a physical strategy. Charisma cat, she's actually going to wage psychological warfare against the mice and the rabbits. She's going to use psychological operations, and she's just going to trick them into not eating our food. Because that's what Charisma cat does. Hey, brother, here to support you. Thanks for having me. Or thanks for being here. It would be nice if you could have a podcast or something so you could speak like you're not muted. It's like, no, I'm not muted. Crazy world we live in. You've given our co-op so many wonderful ideas. I hope your children in the co-op take my classes, by the way. I teach awesome classes. My propaganda class alone is phenomenal. And I don't just say that because I teach it. Like, it's really a phenomenal class. And I'm teaching the course right now on the Bill of Rights, which is really cool. Teaching children, we'd love to have, your co-op. Bees scare me. Nah, bees get a bad rap. Bees are so cool. You just have to get to know. I'm getting bees. I'm so excited about bees. And we're going to plant. So we we have a homestead. So we have 16 acres of forest that we bought. It's all covered in trees right now. It's an actual forest. Because the land was a lot cheaper buying it covered in trees. So we leveled 1 acre. So we have 1 acre of trees we knocked down. So that's going to be where we start, on 1 acre. And then we're going to be surrounded by forest. And over time, as we have the funds, we'll start knocking down more forest and making more homestead, right? So, and when I knock down trees, by the way, I'm instantly planting more and more trees. Just the kind of trees I want. So, right, because where I am, it's all pines, which don't help me, right? So, Amy? So what we're going to do is we're going to have bees, and then we are going to have lavender lining the entire driveway. And it's going to be a long driveway coming from the street. So we're going to line it with lavender, which is beautiful purple plant. It smells great. It's beautiful. The bees love lavender. So as you come up our driveway, you're going to go past the lavender. The bees will be there working the lavender. They'll take that back to their hive, and they'll actually make lavender honey, is what we're going to produce. Yes, I'm for homeschooling. What do you think, guys? Am I for homeschooling? Where can we find the class? Yeah, so all members of Homeschools Connected get access. Like I said, it's use the promo code FREEDOM. It's $10 a month. And you get access to all the classes I teach. So the live class on the Bill of Rights, the course on propaganda, the course on the media, our year-long nature unit study, which would be great for your co-op. You could even do it as a co-op. And the children, if you all do it as a co-op, like, you guys can build really elaborate gardens and stuff with the unit study, which would be really cool. All right, it looks like I caught up to your comments. And since I've been streaming for an exorbitant amount of time, I think I will call it a stream because I have a new tree that I have to go meet. I have a new little baby that I have to take care of, and it's going to produce me lots of nuts. And then I'm going to take those nuts, those first nuts that it produces, and I'm going to plant them. And then I'm going to grow more nut trees. And before you know it, I'm going to be a nut. And all right, guys, www.classical. You will be marketing your lavender honey. Very, very punny. I like it. Amazing. Can't wait to see the bee project unfold. I'll buy some lavender honey for Christmas gifts. Oh, cool. Yeah, one of the things Nicole and I would like to do is, because all of our business is online, but the real world is so powerful, and one of the things we like to do is 1 acre of our land, again, covered in trees at the moment, is on a main road. So what we'd like to do eventually is knock down some of those trees and put up a farm stand on that main road. And then we could grow enough crops where we could actually sell produce right out of our farm stand. So, and that will be a more physical diversification of our life. So that's a really cool thing and something that you're already a nut. Yeah, that's for sure. But that'll be a good thing because the internet's nice, but to do things in the physical world is really a cool thing that I look forward to. So, yeah, you can find me on Classical Learner. You can find me on everything, Classical Learner. And freedom isn't free. We have to earn it every day. And I will maybe be back tomorrow at 9:30, although I have my class that I teach tomorrow at 10:30, so I might be getting ready for the class still, and if that's the case, then I won't be streaming tomorrow at 9:30. And Friday, I do our community-only stream, so I'll be doing that on Friday. I'm new here. My friend sent me the live. Yeah, if you want to watch the replay, this entire replay will be posted on the Classical Learner YouTube channel. Be safe. Stacy's hilarious. Look at all these puns she's dropping. All right. All right, guys. Freedom isn't free. You rarely go live on Thursdays. I know. I've been getting ready for the class. And tomorrow I'm covering the Declaration of Independence. So I'm very, 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 very passionate about that. Nuts are a good thing. Be blessed, bro. Blessings to you and your family. Now I'm going to have to go live tomorrow just because Melissa's putting me on blast. Garlic powder just exploded. Remember when the sauce exploded on you? All right, we used to live in a basement. Nicole and I used to live in a basement. And so we were living in this basement, and I was at work. And she called me up, and she was like, Brett, you have to come home. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, you have to come home. There's spiders everywhere. She was frantic, by the way. She was like, there's spiders everywhere, and the sauce exploded. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I only worked 2 blocks from the house, from the basement. So I got in the car, and I went home. I said I had to leave. I got in the car, went home. And when I got there was glass broken everywhere. Nicole was covered in sauce. So what had happened was there was a spider. And the spider gave birth to baby spiders. So the baby spiders ran out everywhere and was holding a thing of sauce. She freaked out, started flailing, dropped the sauce. It exploded, got all over her body. Oh, that's so great. Babe, can you find that picture? Can you find that picture and post it to the Unschoolables? The Homeschools Connected? That would be awesome. So, all right, guys. Anyway, I wanted to tell that story real quick. We have a great picture of me covered in sauce. All right, guys. So, yeah, hopefully Nick can post that picture. But anyway, that was a fun day. So, classicallearner.com. I need a jingle. .com. I got to get one of the students in Homeschools Connected to make me an original Classical Learner jingle. All right. I'm going to do a 10 count, and then I'm going to stream. 10, 9, 8, 7. I can't wait to meet my nut tree. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I might do a stream where I show you guys the nut tree. All right, let's cut this. YouTube,